What's happening, folks? I got a little surprise for you guys. I'd like to welcome you back to our podcast, only this time it was, this is the second one of 2018. The one I posted a couple of days ago with Dr. Elias was about bullying. And this time I said eventually I'm going to have a very special guest with me, and I'm very, very excited to have this guy here with me because there's a lot to be said about this individual, first and foremost. A lot that people don't know, and especially people that don't know him or have not gotten to know him, because it's one thing to see him as a fighter and as a celebrity, it's another thing to get to know him as a human being. And as a martial artist, from one martial artist to another martial artist, the thing that I relate to most about a person is the person as a whole. This young man over here, very young, handsome man over here.
Not that young.
this getting older young man over here, he's come up a long way, and a huge long way. He's climbed serious mountains to be where he is, with some serious competition. I'm going to let him explain it more in detail, but I'd like to welcome Elias Theodorou, who is in the UFC. He is force to be reckoned with, and there's so much to be said about this guy and his future and what he has in store for himself, and the fact that we as Greeks, to be biased, are very proud. I may take this moment and be biased, and say that we are extremely proud because he represents us, and he represents us really well, and we're very proud of what he's done so far, and we wish him nothing but the best, and with what he has in store, I think I've got absolute no doubt that he will have the best. So Elias, take it from there. Just introduce yourself, man. So how's it going?
Fantastic. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
So Elias the Spartan, Theodorou. I'm a UFC fighter in the middleweight division. I'm the first Canadian to win the Ultimate Fighter. Which for those that aren't familiar with it, it's a reality show that is a contest to win through a tournament to get a contract with the UFC. I did that and won pretty resoundingly. Actually, that's kind of cutting through what my tattoo represents. It's actually Greek symbols. It's alpha greater than 10 omegas. And the idea that I actually went, I was undefeated at the time and went 10-0, and 10 is the basis of the decimal system. It's a very powerful number, both in Greek heritage and not, and beyond. It's the basis of the decimal system.
Greeks were different.
But in general, jumped into mixed martial arts fairly late compared to most. I was enlightened in the mind in university. I thought the body should follow. I soon realized that they were intertwined. I didn't start my first martial arts class till I was about 21. I'm 29 years old now, as I joked. Not as that young.
29 years young. You're not even allowed to use the word old yet.
Yeah, but I'm much older than I was
yes, much more mature.
10 years ago.
Absolutely.
That is also true. But point being, in about 7 or 8 short years, I went from beginner class to top 15-ish in the world in mixed martial arts.
Absolutely.
I love what's called martial arts and its ability to kind of, the true fighter's journey, the idea to travel the world, learn from everyone, grow and experience, the road less traveled. In many ways, mixed martial arts has allowed that, both in competition and in training. My next fight will be Liverpool, England, May 27th. Really excited to take on Trevor Hot Sauce is his fight name. Trevor Hot Sauce Smith, but I put that shit on everything anyways, so I'm gonna, I like sriracha anyways.
Absolutely.
So what's it called? I'm gonna give him a little bit of a taste of his own medicine.
Exactly.
And looking
Bring
to
in the
finish.
heat.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
And looking to go for the finish. I think my style matches up perfect against him in the sense that he's a grinder, a D1 level wrestler who's going to try and go low, but I'm going to have all the answers and look to finish in front of the Liverpool crowd.
Well, what I saw, I've seen you fight. We've all seen you fight. Like you said, in a short amount of time, from 21 to 29, the feat that you've accomplished is not a small one. That's a bloody understatement. that's like that's hitting the peak of Mount Everest in a very short amount of time, because you're in the top tier fighters up there. And most of these guys have been doing it most of their lives.
Yep.
So that's a massive feat, but not for a Spartan actually. Almost natural for a Spartan to kind of make the uncommon place seem common, like we say, right?
Fair enough.
Exactly. But it did take you a lot of hard work. The thing is, what most people don't realize, you know, and when I say that, you know, we've sat down, we've eaten before, and
we plan to eat again.
And we plan to eat again. Jeez, man, you know, it doesn't get any worse. The thing is, we've seen you move, and you know, you've shown your versatility. Your versatility is obvious in the way that you're easy to adapt to things, which I think this is what gives you a huge edge on things in terms of your adaptability is up there. A lot of people don't have that ability to adapt. You know, they can't put the cognitive and the motor skills together. They can't connect it that easy.
Well,
you have that, and I think that's a big help for you. I think that's what's giving you the ability to go from 21 to 29 into the top leagues over here. You know.
Yeah, well, it's out of necessity too. Like you mentioned, you know, someone like Chris Weidman, who's been wrestling since he was 4. You know, Damian Maya, who's been, you know, grappling since he was 7.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there is a lot to be said with that. But, you know, there's also been some studies that show that, statistically speaking, certain, again, kind of elaborating out, stepping back, there's a difference between, in many fields, a specialist and a generalist.
Yes.
I'm a generalist, right? So, like, I try to impose my will to win on my opponent, and I use a little bit of athleticism and game planning to kind of break my opponent and seize the opportunity. I think there are a lot of fighters who, you know, have been doing something for a set amount of years, and then they added the whole mixed martial arts component. One of the positives of being a generalist is I'm kind of a blank canvas.
Absolutely.
And also, I don't have the same injuries that a lot of people that have been doing wrestling since they were 4.
Exactly, yeah.
And going back to the kind of study that I was mentioning, basically there's 2 different roads to be a professional athlete. Someone that does many different types of sports, and it's again the ability to learn to learn.
Yes.
The idea to learn to learn.
Right.
So, for instance, I started with baseball when I was younger, then did skateboarding, and that's where I think my dexterity comes from in regards to my kicks, because I was a semi-pro.
From what I saw.
Yeah, well, I ride around on a board, but nothing compared to what I used to. I actually broke my hand, 2 breaks, 4 fractures, had a bone graft, made me a new wrist. And then it was at that point I realized, I'm terrified of heights, so jumping down a set of stairs is not a good idea. But, and actually in true Spartan fashion, I broke my hand doing a photo shoot for a magazine, and then I didn't want to look like a baby, so I broke my hand and still did it, and then didn't go to the doctors for 6 months, and it healed broken.
Oh yeah, I know.
So then they're like, oh no, yeah, we gotta smash that. So they smashed it and it healed, and it didn't heal. And then they're like, oh no, wait, no, we're just gonna have to redo this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because specifically in one part of your scapula, it's the only part of your body where blood only goes through one way through your body. Because most bones, blood goes this way, blood goes that way. But there's a little bone right here, and if you mess that up later down the line, it's a good opportunity to have a certain type of arthritis that basically will
literally lock you up. Yeah.
But either way, I have arthritis in both wrists, so
so it'll be even. Look, you might as well.
Exactly. Well, no, the left is definitely worse. But the fun part, I'm not necessarily the most religious, but in regards to spirituality, in regards to like the ideas coming full circle, I can't really move my hand back, but that makes a mean stiff jab.
Absolutely.
So it kind of came full circle.
Absolutely. Well, I felt it in the chest there.
Yeah, we did do a little bit of training before this.
And I was light too on top of it, which is great. But you're accumulating it in like a 9-year period. But I mean, you take a look at the intensity and the level of where you are, and it's almost impossible not to go through that road, right?
For the idea of the 10,000 hour mark, right? But that doesn't mean 10,000 hours of a course of 10,000 days.
Exactly.
What's it called? It's that same 10,000 hours.
2,000 days.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So that's because like I became professional. My first professional fight, I think, was kickboxing. Like so. after my first year of university, I was enlightened in the mind, and I followed with the body, like I mentioned, and I fell in love with it. And it really goes to show with the idea that.
But you just mentioned university. I'm sorry to interrupt. Kids, very important. You can't be a fighter and a stupid fighter. You know, you heard the word university. That means, yes, you've got to go through school.
You have to have a backup plan.
Absolutely, man.
Especially in the fight business where there's no guarantees, even when you make it. You're still what's called working to make it. No. Like I fell in love with mixed martial arts after my first year of university, and I finished university, and it kind of worked out. Really worked out because I have a degree in advertising, so in many ways I'm developing
the specialty that you've got going around.
Yes.
Which you're going to tell us about that. Yeah.
Developing the brand that is myself in regards to the idea that I was working. So part of my university education, there was an internship, and instead of going to the ad agency, I jumped on a plane. Right after I got my degree, and my parents were like, "So where are you going?" And I'm like, "Thailand. I'm going to fight someone." So they were a little apprehensive at first
Spartan,
because they invested a lot in me mentally, physically, financially to give me the opportunity to focus on my passions and. Both schooling and outside.
Well, that was very
and then,
supportive, though.
No, for sure. I owe the world to them because they are great parents, and they have shown, they shown an opportunity. They gave me an opportunity to fail in many different ways and to risk failing in a very unforgiving sport.
But they themselves are professional too. So professionals in their field. So. They know this approach. They allowed you to the freedom to do that.
For sure.
It's not like the majority of our parents who came out of villages, who were afraid of us failing.
Well, that's why my dad's parents left to come to Canada for a better life, for a new beginning, if you will. And right. That's the kind of what all parents strive for is exactly. A better life for their kids. And I can happily say that I'm very lucky in that regard. But jumping into schooling, it was definitely instrumental in regards to kind of laying the groundwork in regards to the outside stuff and all the things beyond. Because mixed martial arts, and especially being in the UFC, is a platform. Mm-hmm. So becoming the first Ultimate Fighter in Canada, that's a branding component. That's also a little piece of history. That's something that no one can ever take away from me. I'm still active as a UFC fighter, and
and you've got some interesting stuff that you are in the process of developing right now. Like you said, you have the trademark for the main event.
Yep, main event. Well, my whole shtick is I got the best hair in combat sports, as you can clearly see. It's a little bit locked up here. But the whole idea behind it is main event, M-A-N-E, because it doesn't matter if I'm on the bottom of the card or the top of the card, I'm still the main event.
Absolutely.
And owning the trademark has allowed me to, create different partnerships that I have with, for instance, Per Plus. I'm the North American brand ambassador for Per Plus. I've worked with Mattel rebooting Rock'em Sock'em robots.
Oh, really? They're bringing them back out again?
Wow. So I've worked with brands like that. I work with GP8. I work with a whole bunch of other companies. There's an opportunity.
You've expanded your horizon past the ring.
Well, exactly. In many ways, because like I said, it's a platform. I love fighting. I love traveling. I love learning. I love growing. But I'm not going to fight forever. So I'm trying to develop something that lasts long beyond my athletic career.
Tell us about the other
trademark
company, the other trademark.
Well, not only am I the first Canadian to win the Ultimate Fighter, first UFC fighter to get a endorsement with a hair company, but also the first ring boy. Fighter ring boy in MMA. And what that is just like how in other mixed martial arts and boxing, etc., they have females who hold the cards. I do the same thing for a all-female MMA league. So
mostly all-female fans
in attendance. Well, so the interesting thing is also obviously, mixed martial arts is a male-dominated sport. Being that I'm a part of Invicta, which is an all-female MMA league, their friends and training partners who happen to be female, a lot of them are coming there as well. So a huge majority of the fan base in Invicta is female. But again, in the true pursuit of, beyond what the opportunity that is kind of created in regards to an opportunity in regards to having my, for instance, sponsors on my shorts when I do that, is to create a conversation as well, that in the true pursuit of equality, the answer is more, not less. And what that kind of throws to is, as of late, there's been conversation that, that ring card holders in some way sexualize women, and that
Exactly,
they shouldn't be doing this, when I think that's not necessarily the case if you do it with respect and with class. In a sense, because
and open it up to the other gender. I mean,
yes.
They want to be part of,
for sure,
equal to what we do, and I think there's nothing wrong. If anything,
well,
it's a marketing, massive marketing ploy on it.
Beyond even the marketing component, it's also just the aspect of again, a conversation, and the idea that if done with respect, there's no reason why we can't have more. Because again, the answer is more, not less.
Yeah.
And I've been a part of it is I've, in regards to my social media, let's say, or how I present myself online in general, or outwards in general, I'm fairly positive. So much of the response has been positive back, and just creating more of a conversation. Furthermore, beyond my Ring Boy endeavor, which I'm going to reprise May 4th, and we're going to. It's going to be Invicta 29, and it's a really good card that's already starting to fill up, so I'm really excited to be a part of it. I'm also in the process of my Indiegogo campaign for my film Last Hit.
Yes, that's
right. It's a movie. So basically, I play an MMA fighter, huge stretch, and I get injured, and I reinvent myself with competitive video games. And it's actually going to be the first ever fighting game movie rather. So it's a comedy. And we already have a script, and we have myself as the lead, and also Gary Hawes, who is a well-accomplished director in his own right. He's been the assistant director of movies like Juno, Interstellar, all the new Planet of the Apes movie, all the new
That's awesome.
all the new X-Men movies.
That's awesome.
The Indiegogo campaign is not actually to fund it. It's one of the interesting things, again, diversifying what I am. I'm not just the lead, I'm the producer as well. So when you're making a film, what you want to do is create my analogy would be lighting a lick, creating an awareness, but lighting the flick on the dynamite.
That's
so
right.
when you create a movie, you basically create a one-year company, and this will be the first form of income that our company has. We're just really kind of creating awareness, and we're going to pay the X amount it is for the filing for the company, let's say, right? So we already have a couple of investors that are early on, and we're in talks with, because we're going to do limited theater release, and then there's so many options now with Amazon, Netflix, etc., etc. So we're already in that process. And just a heads up, Last Hit is actually a working title. We're currently in a conversation with a very well-known, I can't say it right now, Capcom, very well-known video game company, and it will be named something else if all the trademarks go through and the licensing and rights and all that jazz goes through. So we're going to be partnering with a really, really big video game company, and it's another avenue to, again, jump into a market. Esports is a world-renowned phenomena in regards to it's just its fan base. 32 million people will view some of these competitions worldwide, and it's really exciting to be a part of it. I've read the script. It's from writer Kyle Francis, who is a accomplished writer in his own right in regards to the gaming world. He all the Kim Kardashian what do you call it, video games and stuff like that have been on. He's been a part of all of it, and I know at first glance that might be like, whoa, it might not be the thing people think in their mind. But in reality, they did make Kim Kardashian about $89 million a year. So there
So
was a
something
market
went
for
right.
it.
Absolutely.
Now he works for Ubisoft, which is one of the larger gaming companies. He's doing a lot of great projects in his own right, but the script is great. And we're in the process of punching it up, is the technical term, punching it up, which is basically get in a room full of comedians, and we just start punching up the script in regards to making
You
things
already
funnier.
did a comedy show, not to divert away from it, but you actually did a stand-up comedy bit too, eh? On top of that. By the way, just so I don't forget, for anyone who is interested, and I will come see you guys, anyone who is interested in jumping on board the sponsorship for Elias, please get in contact with me through my Facebook, obviously. I mean, that's the best place to, and then I'll direct you straight to Elias's page, where you can get in touch with Elias. I think these are great projects that need to be funded. He's one of our own boys too. He's a young man that is has got a huge future ahead of him, and you know, like they say, don't put your eggs in one basket.
Sure.
You've diversified your eggs. I mean, your parents who worked for Merrill Lynch, was it? They taught you right.
Yeah, my mom.
Diversify, and that's the way to go today. You know.
No, for sure. Well, in today's economy, 100%. It's
Jim Ron said the same thing. You know, you can't rely on just one particular thing today.
for sure.
You can't, regardless of what it is.
Yeah, no. Again, there's a difference between generalists and specialists. Like there'll always be doctors. We'll see until the robots come and fix everything.
Exactly.
But no, I appreciate again your time and all those that are watching. Any support and any conversation that is
I'm sure we will get the
wanted
support.
means the
Absolutely.
world either way, and just you listening is more than enough for me.
Well, the fact that, you know, we don't, as a community, you know, we have our regular monotonous lives, you know, and we go about our work, we take care of our kids, and then we come back home, we take care of our house, and that's it. This is a great opportunity to see somebody, and you know, and I've heard a lot of people say, well, you know, if I could have been there, or if I would have been able to be in that place, it would have been great to get some help. Well, this is the time to get some help. Not to say that you weren't putting the effort into it, into getting there. I'd say it's one thing, but you're not only diversifying your, you know, broadening your horizons, you're putting a lot of time into this. You're working, you're traveling around to get these needs met, right?
Yeah, I'm 100%.
So this is where these you know, particular people who didn't want to help at some point in their lives, you know, or were in a place, didn't get that help. This is a great time to actually reach out and say, you know something, what I can do, let me be a part of something for somebody who is one of our own, too, you know, to be able to help them get along the way also.
Well,
you know?
appreciate it either way. No, and that same idea of what I did with mixed martial arts and putting that 10,000 hours, I'm going to do the same thing in regards to acting. I've already, you know, I've stunt action movies.
I heard your comedy
and,
show was pretty good. I actually asked around and they go, he was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I got a couple of laughs.
Yeah.
I literally did it on 2 days' notice. Part of it was, you know, I actually kind of going deeper into it in regards to what I just talked about is the idea of stepping out of your comfort zone. And the same thing will be happening with acting. But I'm like part of this whole Indiegogo campaign is actually to not only the filing taxes like we mentioned and company filings, et cetera, but also my acting coach because I'm going to go from white belt to black belt in acting. And that's what the whole Indiegogo campaign is. If you can follow it,
does, yeah.
If you go and look at it, you can actually see some of the mock videos that I've already done. You know, I'm not horrible, so what's it called? There's only a way but up.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
but again, I'm going to put that same veracity that I did in regards to mixed martial arts into acting as well.
You know, so, I want to go back to what the learning, the growing and learning, like you said, right? And as a martial artist, as somebody who has been athletic all his life, and as somebody who's become a spokesperson for the martial arts. Mm-hmm. Now, when people see you and they don't know you, you know, they get this kind of like almost a stereotype. What they don't know, they judge a book by the cover, right? And I, as a martial artist, grew up under the type of mentality, the mindset of strength through humility of character, right? And I always judge the person by the person as a whole, not by what he did. For me, a martial artist meant somebody who held a lot of power in his hands. He developed a lot of power in his hands, but he also showed a lot of humility. You know, a lot of people ask me, how's Elias? How's Elias? How's this? How's that? And what they don't see, what you guys don't see, that I've had the opportunity to see, is, you know, you might see Elias in the cage, you know, as a celebrity, as a fighter, and doing what he does really, really good, really, really well, you know, pounding people. What most people don't see is the real Elias, is the human being that he is. And for me, these are the people that represent to me the growing and the learning type of mentality, the humble type, the one that is willing to grow and to learn. This is what I saw in Elias when we sat down and we ate, and the person that, you know, is in the ring is the same person that is outside of the ring. Most people get intimidated because, you know, they have this fixed notion of, he's this, he's that, whatever. I have to say that you're one of the most down-to-earth individuals, and I've met some really, really good, you know, really, really cool guys along the way in my martial arts career. From some of the, so one of my a few of my favorites have been, and I've always been the same type of people. Randy Couture, Pat Miletich has been one of them. Great spokesmen, good human beings, you know, and you're right there with them. Whereas, and it's hard. George St. Pierre, another good. Didn't want to omit him in any way, but these are the people that I admire in the sense of saying this is what a martial artist should be like. The mentality to grow while being very humble, you know, being a person, being a real, genuine individual. So for all those that ask me, you know, like, how's Elias, how is he as a character, whatever, well, he's what a down-to-earth, genuine human being is. What you see in the ring is what you'll see outside also. There's no two-face to it. And the fact that you've only been in the martial arts and having gone through such a huge uphill to get to where you are and successfully get to where you are, you know, that says quite a bit about the type of character that you are in terms of willing to absorb, to look, you know, to be humble
Sure.
about things. That's the Elias that I started, you know, that I got to know, and this is the Elias that we sit down and eat. And even after a couple of drinks, he's still the same way. Damn, you know?
No. Thank you for your kind words. Like, mixed martial arts is a very humbling sport. The day you think you know everything is the day you get your ass kicked on national TV. And beyond that, again, it's the acceptance of failure. Not really averse to it. I tap all the time in training because I don't want to put myself in that position. Sometimes to the fear of my coaches in a fight where I've been completely put in what's called rear naked. I'll never tap or whatever. But in the gym, I tap to blue belts, white belts all the time. Not necessarily white belts, but like, you know, people catch me every once in a while, and I don't have any ego to it. I think I don't know. Especially like, I've seen a lot, even in my short career, I've seen a lot of gym warriors that had so much of an ego in there, and it just didn't work, and they couldn't put it together come game day. The most important thing is
you are with that type of an ego to begin with, in such a short amount of time.
No, there's definitely are people that have. It's just one of those things where you know, success is a little bit of luck and a lot of preparation, right? And it's the ability to kind of seize on it. So I was just able to seize on it in a right timing in regards to mixed martial arts, and you know, the boom it was in regards to Montreal and Toronto and riding that wave. But I kind of, even though I didn't have a long you know, race up the hill, there was a lot of running around in regards to the first two fights. I still had to, because again, of all the almost entitlement in regards to who's been around longer, they got to fight in like Ontario. So my first two fights were not until I, you know, picked a fight, not pick a fight, but I found a fight in Alberta and was flown out to be the stepping stone for two different people, and then beat them, and then the opportunity to fight more locally, etc., etc. But you know, I'm very lucky in regards to living the dream wide awake and just enjoying the ride.
Well, you know, we're gonna do our best to get you out there and get you hooked up with some really good people. our community is huge up over here, as well as it is in Toronto, and we do have connections, whether be it here or in Toronto, and this is a very good opportunity for anybody and all those Greeks who are supporters of their own kind in a non-biased way, in a non-racist way, but in a kind of biased way. This is a good time to step up. I think you have an impressive career in front of you, and the fact that, you know, most people will look at it, like, for example, the ring boy thing and say, well, what is that? But what they don't realize is you're capitalizing on what's good for the goose is good for the gander too. You know, you're capitalizing on something that is a turning within society too, you know?
Sure.
I mean, there is a sense of equality, and it should go both ways. Those little things.
In all ways.
In all ways, exactly, you know? And those things, you don't realize them at the very moment up until they actually explode later on. Well, you know, we will be seeing, you know, trends start somewhere. It takes somebody to actually put that foot forward and say, well, let's try this. Nobody else thought about that.
Yeah.
But you know, from what we discussed earlier, your plans on how to get this going, which I'm not going to divulge, you know, is actually pretty unique. You know, excuse me, it's pretty unique. So, you know, I hadn't known that. So I see this as a grand opportunity. I mean, doors are opening for both sides today. Well, look where women have come. Look at 10 years ago, the way women fought, and look how they're fighting today. 10 years ago, they would come at each other like a bunch of cats. Today, they're fighting meticulously. They've changed their approach. They're looking like guys in terms of the way they fight, more methodical, more, you know, much more surgical in the way, and their skill base is huge. So why shouldn't you have, you know, why shouldn't we turn the tables and have the Ring Boy Association out there too? Shouldn't they be, you know, indulge in having their own? You have Invicta now. Is there another company out there that does
all female?
All female?
Possibly. I don't know. Invicta's
But
the
Invicta's
large
number
one
one.
because it's attached with the UFC and it's on their Fight Pass network.
Oh, you never know. Maybe Bellator might open up their own female thing.
Well, they have female fighters, but they
in
don't.
Bellator.
Yeah.
Oh, that might be something to Bellator. That might be something to think about. Elias, man, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. I'm gonna nag the shit out of you later on to have you again, and no matter what, we're gonna have an update as to where we're going with this. So I'm gonna come and see a lot of you guys. And it's not for me, it's strictly for Elias. When it is for me, you'll know it's for me. You know, so we want to help the brother over here. He's a wonderful individual. And for anybody that wants to see him, tomorrow we'll be at Mont Tremblant, really, really up high, you know, at 7 o'clock. Not. He won't know. So I wanted to get you out there so people can see who Elias is, get them to know, you know, get them to know you a little bit more intimately, and see the type of individual that you are. And I hope that you guys did. And you know what? Later on, maybe in the future, maybe you might be able to see him up close. You know, we'll see what we can do. Until then, we're looking forward to having you again. Keep the training going on hard. The boy doesn't look big. He's huge, man. He's like huge. A
little bit smaller today than I was yesterday.
But he's
shrinking.
huge, man. Yeah, you're going down.
Yeah, I'm going down the weight.
He's going down. He walks at 215. He's huge. He just doesn't look it, you know, from here.
Angles.
That's what it is, man.
TV magic.
It's a pleasure to have this guy around, man. And I look forward to having another sit down. And that's it. So I expect to hear from you guys. What I will do though is I will put down the links also as to Elias' stuff, the movie that's coming up, and everything else that he allows me to put up there, so you guys can check it out and make him you know, bring him into the family, man. That's what we want. Just bring him into the family.
Appreciate it.
Catch you guys soon. See you the next time around. Bye.